Hey everybody, this is another throwback to my trip in Bali. I know some of you want to see my van life stuff, but that'll come soon. For now, I just want to get this out there because it's kind of a memoir to me, and I want to post it. So here it is. This is pretty cool. Woke up this morning and they brought me coffee, which is so lovely. Just like that, it's ready to go. Alright, so this is another throwback of my recent trip to Bali, Indonesia. I was actually there to visit my daughter, but at this stage of my trip I had some time to myself to do some exploring of my own. Right now I'm on my way up the road from where I was staying to dive on a shipwreck that had piqued my curiosity. In the meantime, I'm taking in the sights of this beautiful ride in a countryside vastly different from what I'm used to in Canada. I made it. This is the coast, and yeah, so apparently the shipwreck's out here somewhere. It's pretty calm. It looks like there's a little bit of current in the water, so I'm by myself. I can't really dive down deep. The deep end of it is 30 meters deep. I've never dove that deep. The maximum I've ever done was 20, although here it feels pretty easy to get down to that depth. But you don't have a dive buddy, you just kind of have to think about that sort of thing a little bit more. Be careful, and be careful anyway, even with the dive buddy. Anyway, kind of suit up, looks fun. There's a ton of scuba divers out there, so we're gonna get those guys on camera. It's just not gonna be a virgin shipwreck. It's a world-class, super popular place. The shoreline's actually really sweet. These cactuses over here growing in the tree. Alright, here it is. This is the USAT Liberty shipwreck, the thing I was so excited to come out here and check out. The visibility isn't the best, but it's still definitely workable, and the conditions were actually a little bit of a challenge for me. The current was pretty strong, so my breathe-ups were a struggle. I was just trying to do my best to keep my heart rate low and preserve as much oxygen as possible. Nevertheless, my breath holds were pretty shallow. This is a barrel sponge, by the way. Very beautiful life form. It can live up to 1,000 years old. And then just a little bit below that, I'm diving down here to do a little bit of a swim through. In any case, I should probably share a little bit of the history of this boat because it's pretty fascinating. So it's a U.S. Army cargo ship that was built in World War I. And it was used in World War I to transport cargo back and forth through the Atlantic Ocean. And then it was redeployed in World War II to pretty much do the same thing. And on a voyage from Australia to a US base in the Philippines, it was torpedoed by the Japanese. And it didn't sink. It was actually torpedoed not even at this location. It was closer to Lombok, which is the island east of Bali. In any case, two destroyers, a US destroyer and a Dutch destroyer, towed it up to this location hoping to salvage it, but then it started taking on too much water and they beached it onto the shore just pretty much above this location that I'm diving at. And it sat there for 20 years. In 1963, the volcano of Mount Agun that we rode by earlier erupted in a pretty violent eruption, and there was pretty massive earthquakes as a result, which shifted the boat off the beach down into the location that it sits now. And ever since, it's become a pretty famous dive site. That being said, I think probably the best way to experience this place would have been on scuba. Still a delightful place to freedive on, and probably a little bit better if the current wasn't as strong, and maybe if there was some kind of line or marker buoy on top that would have made for a nice place to hang on to while you're doing a breathe up. Might have helped. But yeah, still pretty cool. From what I've read, there's a lot of really neat swim throughs on it, but I just couldn't, bring myself to do a lot of them just being by myself and struggling with the current. But yeah, doing this on scuba would be a lot more interesting because you could focus on all the little nooks and crannies and look at all the different marine life down here, so it would be a little bit more of a pleasant sort of dive, I guess. Anyway, this is actually the last little swim by I'm going to do on this dive, and then it's time to go back up to shore and get some water. There's a little scuba cat here. I just came to have some water. The current is very strong. There's a lot of people here now. The current's quite strong out there, so my breathe up is just like I'm really struggling to get down and have a decent breath hold. I was getting like 45 seconds, just under a minute, 55. I was hoping for longer so that I could like just really soak it in a bit more. But I was getting tired, so I came in, had some water. Apparently there's a coral garden over there, so we'll go check that out. And yeah, if it slows down, I might go back and just try one more time on the wreck. We'll see. Alright, you're going to have to excuse the rain landing on the hood of my van right now, so I'm trying to do this voiceover, but I'll put the fish names on the screen. The Shipwreck was pretty cool, but I enjoyed this a whole lot more because I got to see all these little fish and more or less, I don't know, be more involved in the environment. And it was much more relaxing too. I wasn't trying to do these crazy long dives down into deeper water. I was just kind of chilling out, keeping it shallow. Got a soldier fish there, super neat. And this is kind of some of the structures that we find underwater. And here's some more right here, some coral on it, including a coral grouper, which I was really happy to see. This guy's a little guy, but still really pretty fish. And some of the coral there you could see was bleaching, unfortunately. There's more of that to be seen, but just kind of, I don't know, it's one of those things that was out here. I didn't really focus on it too much because there's quite a bit of it, and it was disheartening to see it. We got a clownfish in this beautiful anemone here. Interesting thing about the clownfish is that they hang out in there, and that anemone is poisonous to other fish, but the clownfish is safe in that environment. And then we got more statue kind of things going on down here. This looks like, I think this is I Love Tulamben, which is this area that I'm diving in. Some of it's just a substructure for coral to grow onto. And then there's some natural rocky outcroppings with coral on it as well, which that's what this is. And then here's a sweet lips. Hey buddy. This one's the Titan triggerfish, which has got a pretty bad reputation. This guy is a super aggressive fish that bites a lot of divers, so he kept his distance, and I did see some more of them out here, but I didn't get bit by a triggerfish, thankfully. And then yeah, we're just wrapping up here. I was just swimming up on these scuba divers who had those underwater scooters. I was just kind of felt like checking them out. I don't think they realized it's behind them there, but pretty neat to see all their gear. Wrapping up here in the shallows with a white-eyed moray eel. This was kind of a surprise to see it, but it was definitely a delight. And then just as we're pulling away, we get a little school of 6-bar race right there. And then finally a little 2-pound diving weight that somebody lost. Okay. Thank you, buddy. Let's turn around. Yeah. Sweet, man. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, here you go.
Thank you very much, Joseph.
Thank you very much too.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Enjoy your holiday, yeah?
Yeah, thank you. You
Yeah.
too. Oh, I gotta wait for him too. I'll give this to him too. You want that?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I found it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. See you, bro. All right, so I'm gonna go out here and dive a little bit more in front of this place that I'm staying at, the Blue Star Cafe. It's a good spot, and I just had a coconut down there. Meant to share that, but I was just rehydrating after that dive. My stuff's still wet, so I'm gonna put it all back on, go out there. It's relatively workable, and I'm gonna see. I'm trying to find a stonefish. This is a very toxic, poisonous fish. I think it's the most poisonous fish in the world, and they have them here. And I was just chatting with one of the guys that works here, and he says he sees them there all the time. They're in about 3 meters of water, sometimes 5, and sometimes right up on the beach. And there's been people that have stepped on them here multiple times just out front, including one child. And well, he hasn't stepped on one himself. He says it's extremely painful, and it takes about 3 days for a person to recover from it. And they've got a way to treat it right here if it does happen to somebody. But I'm not gonna step on one. Some guy did a YouTube video on pricking himself with a stonefish. I don't know. If you want to look it up, look it up. But I'm gonna try to find one. I hope to find one. If not, I'm just gonna go check out the reef, have some fun. Not sure if you caught a glimpse of that stonefish, but I did actually find one while I was out here, and the search is on. I am scouring the ground here in the shallow waters looking for that stonefish, and it could look like any one of these little rocks. They are very, very camouflaged. In the meantime, it's super nice to appreciate all the other little fish and things in this environment, seeing the way the light kind of shimmers off the rocks in the bottom there. Lots of really cool little corals too. In a lot of ways, this is more exciting than the deeper water. Oh yeah, and this is a cone snail. I was so excited to find one of these. Very dangerous. You have to be really careful to pick one of these things up. Maybe not this one in particular, but these things can kill you. There's a little spike in there that they'll stick into you, and it's very bad news. So I kind of bury him back down in the sand where he's supposed to be. See, dude? We got a sea fan right here. Really pretty to see it in the light. And then it's always fun to look down into these little dark hideouts. You can see a sea urchin in the back there. That's about it. And then this is a crown of thorns starfish, which is pretty cool starfish. It actually eats the coral as it moves around. I should probably mention that a lot of this species identification happened post-production. While I was actually out here in the water, I didn't know what any of this stuff was. I mean, there was maybe a couple things where I sort of knew what to look for, and I knew what they were when I saw them. But most of it was totally new to me, and it was just exciting to be in an immersive environment like this, checking out all these new things for the first time. At this point, I'm actually still looking for the stonefish, but at the same time just passively enjoying the environment. Here's a porcupine fish that I attempted to spook, but he just dodged it and swam into this little crevice under this coral. And then down here is a scorpion fish, which is pretty close to the stonefish that I'm looking for. It's still a poisonous fish, this one. I just kind of see if I can spook him. There he goes. Another crown of thorns. That white spot on the coral might actually be some of what he's already stripped off. At this point I headed out into some deeper water because I was just getting bored with looking around for stonefish, and part of me wanted to go and play around with pretending to be a hunter in these waters. So the fun part of this was just going down and using the back of my throat to make this like sound and try and bring in some game fish or that sort of thing, and you know, pretend to be a spear fisherman but not actually be a spear fisherman. I definitely get the interest of some fish here swimming up to me from just further away, and I don't know what they are. I'm guessing that they're some kind of snapper, but there's a bunch of them, a couple bigger ones in that group. Still a little bit far away, like they're definitely pretty cautious fish.
I found my stonefish. I didn't see him until he moved. It's very hard to film him because he's right on the top of this rock. And the waves are breaking right over it. I'll try.
So the benefit of doing post-production identification, I think I was mistaken on this one. Although it's very similar to what a stonefish would look like, I believe this is actually the devil scorpion fish with some slight differences, and a lot of people get this one confused with the stonefish. Nevertheless, it's definitely a poisonous fish. The spines on its back are very, very painful, but not quite as painful as the stonefish itself. All right, all cleaned up after that. Here's the shirt. Yeah, put this. Yeah. Here's the back of it. So I don't think this is gonna actually work for me for very long, just because I've got a really long torso, and I feel like it might shrink too much, and then I'll be too short. But I'll hang on to it for as long as I can. And I'm gonna wash it first. I just figured I'd put it on right now. It does kind of smell new and fresh from the factory, so I'm not gonna wear it just because of the. Oh, you guys are all foggy. That's better. Yeah, so I'm not gonna wear it just because I'm gonna wash it. It's brand new. But hang on, that stonefish was friggin' awesome. I've been looking for one of those for the whole time that I've been here, and I was so excited that I finally saw one. That guy was super cool. I am not 100% sure at this point if it is a stonefish. I believe it is, but it could be. The first one I saw was a scorpion fish out there, and there's a scorpion fish that might look pretty close to the stonefish, but that did have that sort of like upward unhappy look on its mouth, and I think that's it. Although the eyes were not in the spot that I was expecting to see them, but damn, that was cool. That was really cool. Anyway, that's a rant. I could go on more on that, but I'm just going to sign off right there, you guys. I think the rest of the day here, I'm just going to go get a bite to eat at this cool restaurant that I found the other night. And just chill out, just relax, enjoy my evening, and get ready to pack everything up and head to a new spot tomorrow. It's a leg of my trip where I'm just jumping in the water as much as I can. And yeah, anyway, see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.